Hello everybody and welcome to our Saturday live stream. Hope you guys are having a great weekend. Today we're going to be doing something a little different, something completely new. We are going to be critiquing some of your guys' work here live on stream. So if this sounds like something that you would like to have done, shoot me an email at follygon@gmail.com. Include in that email a Z-tool, so a Z-tool of your file. You can save that up here, save or tool save as, not a ZBrush project. So include a Z-tool, include your Twitch username, and then just include a little bit of info about what you want me to take a look at. Try to be as specific as you can. Don't give me like really generic stuff like what you think. Like don't do that. But yeah, we have one here thus far. I just mentioned this yesterday that we would try to do this. So Bill is going to be our first critique here on stream. I'm going to be taking a look at a soldier that he sent me. And we're going to spend a little bit of time doing that. So we're not going to be working on this, our deer, our great prince of the forest like we have been doing here. We're going to be taking some time away from that to take a look at some of your guys' stuff. So let's take a look here. Again, email me if you want to get on. If you even shoot me an email during this live stream, that's going to be just fine. We'll try to look at as many people's stuff as we can, depending on how many we get. We'll see how that goes. But yes, this is by Bill. Bill is, I don't think, in yet, but we'll give some time for some people to jump in here. And hopefully by, since we did just mention this for the first time yesterday, it's kind of just shooting off the dome. Since we did just bring this up yesterday, hopefully by next weekend we'll have some more stuff that we can look at. But I'll look at this for a little bit, and if we don't get any more, no big deal. I'll just hop back on the great Bambino over here, because there's still a lot of stuff I want to do here. In particular, a lot of things that I want to do in the legs for this pose. But yeah, let's take a look here at what we got going on with our soldier boy. So, Bill had asked me, what would I do to this? What would I change if I was going to have this be a professional portfolio piece? And for me, I think that's going to be a little bit different, generic. I'm actually, real quick here, I'm going to turn off all the poly paint because I don't want to be distracted by any of the poly paint. So that question is going to be a little bit different for everybody, just because there's going to be a lot of people that are working in the video games industry, in the film industry, or like what I do in the physical production industry for toys and minis and that kind of stuff. So it's going to be a little bit different for everybody. But with that said, with that in mind, I think there's a lot. There's a lot that I would change here, and I think that Bill has a really good base here to kind of build up and continue working from. There's just a lot of stuff that gets, I think, really messy. And I think there is some really good stuff in here as well. I think it just needs to be pushed a little bit further. I'm actually going to start from the bottom and work my way up, because I think what I would like to do is have a lot of our work be done on the face. I am going to be sculpting on this. Hey, everybody, I see that there's a lot more people in here now. So if you're just jumping in, just joining us, we've been working on our Bambi sculpt here. Well, I'm going to restart my music. I don't know what's going on here. But yes, we've been working on the Great Prince of the Forest, but this Saturday we're taking a break to do some critiques of people's work. So if you want to have your work be critiqued here on stream, shoot me an email, follygon@gmail.com, Follygon, and send me a Z-tool, your Twitch username, and just some info about what you want me to critique. And we'll try to get that on here during our stream today. And if not, we'll do it next weekend. So let's start from the bottom and work our way up. And I'll just kind of, in general, talk about, I think there's a lot of problems that are very similar through a lot of this. And a lot of that is stuff that I see, and I'm gonna turn on double here so I can see what's going on. A lot of these problems are going to be a lot of things that I see happen a lot when people are kind of starting out, and it's just something that's really tough to avoid when you're kind of at that stage, because you're learning a lot of tools and maybe you don't have all the fundamentals down quite as well as you need to, and that's cool. That's totally okay. So again, Bill's question was, what would I do to this? What would I change to make this a professional portfolio piece? So again, starting from the bottom up, I think, well, first of all, I would start to give these boots some thickness. And I would probably take these boots back quite a bit. I would also probably get some references of some exact boots that I want to look at. And I think where these boots really start to fall apart is just in these fundamental shapes. Even if this is a stylized boot, we still need some particular shapes and forms that are going to indicate that this is a boot. The first thing that really stood out to me was, we're going to need a hard edge down here for the end of our boot. We can't have this soft edge wrapping around here. That's not going to be extremely informative to the viewer that this is a boot and instead not a sock or something else. I think a lot of the primary forms in general just flowing up in here are probably pretty far off from what we would like to see. So I think maybe just running through here. Let's see, let's try just real quick just to flatten these out. Maybe some kind of slice curve brush and just pull that through. And just chop up some geometry real quick. And then delete, we'll close holes. And I'm gonna butcher these as fast as I can. And there's some other problems we got going on down here. But let's flatten out that bottom edge, really work on making sure that that is clean. And again, you're gonna wanna have some references for this kind of thing. And then up here, I think a lot of this is kind of just projected onto the surface poorly, and I think maybe some physical geometry could represent this information a lot better. Again, maybe getting some thickness for the boots, or not even really thickness since the end caps are covered up, but really getting in there and just kind of cleaning up a lot of these shapes. So my suggestion for Bill would probably be to take a step back on these. So what I would do is Z-remesh these down to 1 or 0.1 or just extremely low here, and start really going back and focusing on a lot of those primary shapes that have kind of got screwed up here quite a bit. So let's do that real quick, and we'll see what we can do. Critique Stream, how's it going? How do you submit? You can send your stuff into my email address, follygon@gmail.com. Include with that email your Twitch username so I know who you are, your ZTool file, of course, because I need to be able to open it up here on stream, and then just include a little bit of info about your file and what your purposes are. Essentially, what you want me to look at, critique, and go from there. Cool, so we've just remeshed our boots down extremely low, and it might seem like, wow, we just lost a lot of information. Now we could project that back. I'm not going to project it because I think there's a lot of fundamental form changes that we can make here to really take these to the next level here. So I'll add in a few subdivs and just really start working on that. And again, this is where your reference of that particular boot that you have is really going to come in handy. Make sure that I've done a few boots in my time, so I know, just based off of that, what kind of shapes I'm looking for. Maybe you need to figure out proportions. I think maybe proportionally with this dude here, his boots are maybe about the right size, maybe a little bit bigger if you want to go that way. But this is what I would recommend for anybody in that stage where things have gotten just a little bit out of hand and you can't really control your surface. Just getting back to this base level and making sure that you're you're spending the appropriate amount of time in these early stages. I would say, I don't exactly know, for everything it's going to be a little bit different for the percentage split up of how you want to spend your time, but I think you definitely need to take a lot more of that time and put it into that initial stage. So that's what I would recommend for you down on the boots. And then again, of course, getting some physical geometry for stuff like the laces and maybe some of those additional tabs that you would see popping out there. So let's see, let's just like look, it's an army. We'll just do like an army boot, right? Because you said it was a soldier. Let's see. So some extra additional geometry for stuff like the tongue of the boot, and then I would also put in some additional geometry down here for the sole. Get some of that down there. So I would say 1, 2, 3, maybe like 3 or 4 separate subtools for this, and then like a 5th one for the laces, and maybe some additional for the tabs or holes that are going to hold those laces in place. What do you send? So many pieces. If you send your Z tool, if you go to Tool Save As, it will save out all of your subtools into one tool. Also, a quick note, if you are saving your files under File, Save As, don't do that. That's real bad. You're going to make your file about 10 times larger than it needs to be. So instead, go to Tool and click Save As, and that will save out your Z tool. A Z tool includes all of your subtools, and I think it'll be a lot more helpful for you. Quite a few projects going on. I see. I gotcha. Alright, so let's work our way up. That's some info about the boots and what I would recommend doing there if I was going to display this for a professional portfolio piece. Let's go into our pants, and I think you have a lot of the same issues, so I don't think I'll talk too much about the pants here. But I think taking a step back is going to be great for you. Just silhouette-wise, I think you have a lot of extra curve going on in here that is maybe not necessary. You also have some additional kind of strange forms just in some places where it shouldn't maybe be. I'm not sure what these shapes back here on the booty are supposed to be representing. Maybe we're going to sculpt in some pockets later on, I don't really know. But maybe just kind of filling out some of this and just getting that to feel a little bit more like it makes sense there. I see that you very quickly kind of indicated some kind of pocket here. You might want to cut in there or even create some separate geometry. Pockets are a little complicated, and I think you can maybe get away with kind of what you did here, but I think you could maybe push it a little bit further to really kind of get in there. Oops, wrong brush. Really kind of maybe even mask off and dig into that pocket shape. And then also, again, look at some references for some pockets so you can really figure out how this works here. You got this line and form carrying through here a little bit too far, and I think that'll get you headed in the right direction. Same here on the front. For the front zipper, you want to do the same thing up here. Really indicate that there's some gap here, and you can play with that. And same notes over here. Just kind of take that a little bit further. And I think you have the same problem. The main issue here is that I think you're working with not enough subtools in general. I would say when in doubt, split it out, right? If you've been around on the stream for a while, you've probably heard me say that. So let me run in auto groups here. Let's just see what you got separated. So these are not combined to geometry, so I would recommend splitting these out. And I would also recommend splitting your straps out, these straps that you have around the pants. You gotta look at this from a little bit of a realistic standpoint. Even if it's a stylized character, you're not gonna have these straps blending into your pants. Also, these straps are gonna cause a lot of issues for you. So instead of, I'm not sure how you made these straps, I'm not sure if you just Dynamesh them in later. But what I would recommend is using a curved tube brush, since this is a default brush in ZBrush, and setting your brush modifier to 4. And then what you can do is draw out that curve on your surface. Whoops, it's kind of freaking out on me. Draw out that curve on your surface, and you'll have a nice strap that you can wrap around your geometry. And you can even mess with your Z intensity to make that strap more thin. And after you wrap that all the way around, you can just split that off by hiding everything except for that strap and running a split hidden operation, which is down in your geometry, modify topology, or I'm sorry, that is in just your tool, subtool split menu here, split hidden. There's lots of ways you can split stuff off, but that's the way that I do it most often. Alright, so that would be my other recommendation there. Again, I just don't think you have enough separation between your parts in a lot of these areas, and I think that will help you out. Same note on the pants here about the boots. I think you've maybe just gotten a little bit too far ahead of yourself, a little too quick, and I think going back to those initial kind of primary forms will really help you out there. Drink from my monkey mug here real quick. Keep going up. Same notes here on the belt, so I won't talk about that too much. Other than your curve here, you got a little curve on your surface. To get rid of that, if you have a curve brush active, you can click on your surface. That will delete any curve that you have. Or you can go into your stroke menu under curve, and let's see, maybe curve functions, and then click delete and get rid of that completely. Don't want any extra floating curves. So split these off, maybe split these into a few parts. If you want this to be a professional level portfolio piece, I would maybe really look at some of the artists that you look up to and see kind of what they're doing. So, you're trying to create these little pouches here, and I think you have a good base, but from there you maybe want to create some additional geometry for, let's see, grab a brush, insert mesh, and maybe grab one of these buttons here, and whoops. We can insert something here, there's a lot of options. I'll just delete your subdivs real quick and get rid of those. So maybe you want to play around with stuff like that just to really kind of bring these up to the next level. So that's all I'll say about the belt. Let's go up to the vest here. Same notes about splitting stuff up into multiple parts. It's going to really help you out here. I think the thing that you do have some crazy floating geometry here in the middle. It's not seen though, so it's not really that big of a deal, I guess. I would probably take the time to clean this up, but I don't think it's the end of the world. The other thing, excuse me, the other thing here is that you have started to put in some of these secondary folds going on here. I see a lot of these little guys through here that you've started to make very lightly, and I like that idea a lot. I think what you could do though is just really start to take that to the next level and just start exaggerating those a little bit more. So maybe coming through with like a damn standard brush and really building up one side and cutting into the other, and really get some of those classic V shapes that we would see in a lot of these folds, and just really start pushing that. Get some more of those going on. Another note here, if you look at your surface, if you see all these polygon shapes going on here, I'm not sure if you guys can see them on stream, but I can see your individual geometry from earlier. And you don't want that. So what's happened here is you have dynameshed this at a point where you had not subdivided it far enough for this texture to go away. So it was a little bit tessellated there. So you might want to go through and smooth that out, or remesh this and project it. But you can see that I can smooth out a lot of those polygons there pretty quickly. Again, I'm not sure if you guys can see that coming through on the stream. It's maybe a little bit difficult to see, maybe a little bit more obvious if I move the light around and change the material. But yeah, I think same notes there. I like the stuff that you're doing with the stitching. I think you could maybe make this a separate mesh as well if you want to use some insert mesh brushes. Same thing with the zipper. I would split that off, and you have not merged that down or Dynamesh that or anything, so that's definitely good. You shouldn't be too hard to do that. And we'll keep going on here. Same note on the folds that you've done here. I would also maybe look at some clothing and get some references for how these folds should flow, so you can get a little bit of a better idea of the direction here around the armpit. I don't think you've done too terrible of a job. But Cello Bait, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. But yeah, I think you have the right idea here. You just need to look at reference a little bit more closely and keep going with that. Collars are always a little tough. The Babu has sent their email. Let me actually open up my email over here so I can keep track of that. Again, if you guys are interested in getting your stuff critiqued here live on stream, shoot me an email and include your Z-Tool, your Twitch username, so I know who you are, and a little bit of info about the project and what you want me to look at for the critique. Try to be as specific as you can. Collars are always really tough, and I think you've done a pretty good job of executing on that. You've even separated this geometry down the middle, which is never a super easy thing to do. So I think you've done a lot better on this shirt than you maybe have done with some of this other stuff like the pants. So if you can give the same treatment of that basic level here, if we step all the way down here, I think you have a really good start here for this shirt. And if you could give that same treatment a little bit more in some other places, I think you'll be good to go. Backpack just looks, a little bit unfinished, so I won't say too much about that. Looks like maybe you got a lot more work that you plan on doing back there. Onto our arms. I think you have some good shapes going on here if we kind of just look silhouette-wise. If I'm just looking at this from the big picture, I do think that there's maybe some points in your surface where you're getting a little crazy here, and we just want to clean up some of this form and make sure that this is really flowing nicely. And I think a lot of that is some of the secondary form that you've put in here. You've started to indicate some of these muscles, but I would say maybe a little bit in the wrong place. Some of these are all right. Some of these forms are anatomically close, but I would say maybe, take a step back again, grab some references. Forearms are really hard, so don't feel too bad here. Anything anatomical is tough, so grab a ton of reference, and like I said, just a few quick strokes here, and I've kind of already just cleaned up your silhouette just a tad. And maybe try to break up little hits in your silhouette a little bit more, so we're getting a little bit more of this form up here as this outside muscle wraps a little bit more towards up around your elbow there. So I'm just trying to get some of that stuff in, and I think you'll be going in a good direction. Your fingers, let's see. Gotta drink my tea quick before it goes cold. With your hand here, so general notes, you've got some nice topology going on here. Maybe some weird stuff, but I like some of the stuff you got going on in your fingers. An interesting knuckle loop there. I think I've seen that before. So proportionally, the main thing that really just stands out immediately is that your fingers are real stubby and your palm is really long. So let's just try, pulling back on that, getting that to a little bit more natural territory. And a little bit of some of the changes to the form that I would make here. I would, in modeling in general for hands, try to model your hand in a bit more of a relaxed pose, or if you're going to model in this flat out T pose, spread your fingers out. It's gonna make this a lot easier on you. Because it's really, really difficult to get in here and sculpt some of this stuff. So to do that, and to get to a point where you can start cleaning up your knuckles and some of the shapes going on here in your hand, Control click and drag using your transpose tool or 3D gizmo, and Control W that mask, and it will polygroup that for you. So you can create a quick polygroup, and then you can just split that off, or mask that finger and work on it by itself, and like I said, spread that out and really work on not letting that be too close to the other fingers. So that's what I would recommend for doing with all the other fingers here, and then just really going through and cleaning up a lot of this stuff here where it gets a little awkward. Look at your own fingers. Your hands are a great reference for yourself. I think that'll help you out a lot. So maybe playing around with just, I think the form around your knuckles, I think that edge loop is a geometry that you have in there at the low subdiv is holding a little bit tighter than I would personally like. So I would maybe remesh that, but if you want to keep that topology, I don't think it'll be too bad. I think it might just be a little bit more difficult to work with and clean up. So just spend some time really focusing in on that silhouette of your finger. Again, look at your own finger, look at some other images online for what other people are doing with their stylized hands, and try to find something that you like. Always try to have I don't know if you have a reference for this character. You didn't send one, so I'm going to assume that there's not. But, always try to have some kind of bar in mind. So looking at those professional industry kind of standards and trying to aim for that or even above that. All right, on to our head. And let's see here. You do have some poly paint going on here. I'm not gonna mention the texturing. We'll just focus here on the three-dimensional forms. Let's see. It looks like our helmet's maybe just poking through on the head a little bit, so I'll just pull that up. I do like the low poly that you've done on the helmet. This is probably just in terms of form, the cleanest shape that you have altogether. I think like silhouette wise, this is probably the cleanest shape, the strongest shape here. And there's like little things that I would maybe do to that. Let's take that off. The goggles here, looks like you maybe just poly modeled these. Got a plane there. I would just make sure that that strap is nice and clean. There might be some edge loops you want to delete in that. I would recommend anytime you're doing something like this, like these goggles, and you've subdivided these all together, I would say try to avoid that. I would take a step back, or here, I'll just split off this strap, right? And then for our strap, I'll reconstruct those subdivs. Ooh, we can reconstruct that pretty far back, so that's actually good. But anytime you have, let's see, whoops. We'll go about here. And I'm gonna delete everything that's higher and lower than that. Anytime you have all these, and this is kind of a pitfall that you've maybe fallen into with a few different things here, but you have a lot of different geometry and you've kind of all combined them all, and then that just makes it a little bit harder to work with when you start subdividing and all that. So what I'm going to do through your strap here is just delete a few edge loops using the Z modeler brush. Just run through here and delete some of these extra loops that are not adding anything to our form, and clean that up. And I would probably even, you don't have to close holes there, but let's just do a quick crease edge loop on some of these edges. And I would probably redraw this out just because a lot of these verts here, focal shift got messed up, just this edge being so uneven now. It's not too hard to fix that with a move brush and just go through here, make sure that that's lining up. And that's going to allow you to really clean up this shape and get something a bit nicer so it's not quite all over the place. And then you can realign that there, and if you think that the strap has a little bit too much of a hard edge, instead of using creases, what you can do is just bevel edges. This is something that I do all the time. Z-Modeler brush, hover over an edge, hold the space bar, bevel, edge loop complete, and get a tiny little bevel in there, and I'll just do this on every single edge real quick. We'll see what that looks like with a smooth mod on there. I think that's a lot nicer, and we can maybe add some subdivs if we want, just to see what that looks like smoothed out. And I would say you can give that treatment, same treatment to your goggles here. Go back through and just make sure things are lining up and crease and play with all that. But yeah, let's take a look at our actual face next. And this is probably where we'll spend the most time. So let's get in here. I'll turn off the goggles and the helmet. Same thing with this strap down here as well. After you give that same treatment to the other strap, I would do it to that one as well. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at what we got going on here. It looks like you have some subdivs, so let's zoom in here, take those all the way down. Looks like maybe, looks like you've done some Z-remeshing in here. Z-remeshing didn't do... I thought maybe it was manual at first just because of this. You do have some... Let me know if this is manual retopo or not. It's kind of hard to tell, actually. It's a little high resolution. I think 4K for a face of this style is pretty high for manual retopo. So actually what I'm going to do, well, we won't remesh this, but let's just talk about some shape and everything else here. I'm gonna turn off our body, our arms. I'm gonna just turn off all this stuff so we can really, there we go. A little bit easier to rotate and move around. So let's see. I think you have some really good stuff actually going on here, and I think there's some stuff that I would probably fix. So let's just talk about, at least at first, just the overall surface. I think there are a lot of kind of flat pieces that you've kind of got in here, like unnecessary plane changes. So I would probably spend the time to go through and clean that stuff up and just kind of clean up the form where some of that stuff is a lot stronger than I think it needs to be. Like here in his butt chin, I do like the butt chin. I think you've done some good stuff there, but this gets a little flat. In terms of silhouette as well, I'll talk about that in a minute, but let's just continue cleaning up some of our surface a little bit more. Same back here with our head, which maybe isn't seen quite as much, but those subdivs really help you out here to figure out some of this stuff so that you can take a step back and really clean up your surface. But already I think we're starting to get a little bit nicer through here. Hubert Zappert Art, welcome to the stream. How are you doing? Doing some critiques today. Oh, I see that we got some teeth there. Go away, ad block. A few other places I think that maybe you've exaggerated that form a little bit more, and actually pretty wide there. I think this nose is a little bit sharp in a lot of places, and there's some stuff here that we could do. I'm gonna try not to change a lot of the overall shapes that you have, because I really don't think that's too much of your problem here in the face. I think you got, like I said, I think you do have some good stuff going on here. And just like a little bit of help here in some of this. I would probably lower this nose on his face a little bit. You know, you are going for that kind of strong, brutish look from what I can tell, but at the same time, that upper lip is feeling really, really tall there, as well as your upper lip needs to pretty much always be silhouette-wise coming down from here. that upper lip always sticks out further than the lower. Yeah, just taking some time to adjust that. We'll do that here. Make a snapshot before you make changes. A snapshot? Not sure what you mean by snapshot. Maybe just a canvas snap there. I don't know if that's called a snapshot. You drop it to your canvas is technically what that's called. But I have the old Z tool, so we can load that in, no problem. Let's go through here some more. I think the upper lip in general, you start to lose some volume here. And this is definitely something that's really, really difficult. And I remember when I really first started noticing this stuff, and I started to really get in the mindset of thinking about concave surfaces versus convex surfaces. And thinking about it in that way really helped me take my work to that next level. So maybe that will help you out if you're coming through here and it's hard to tell what's going on with your mouth. If you go down into display properties, turn on double so you can see backside polys. If you look at this upper lip, it's really starting to swoop in and have this concave surface. So we don't want that, right? That definitely doesn't look too great, and it feels very awkward. Austin, what's going on, dude? Thank you for the sub. Critique them polygons. That's right. Thank you for the sub, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for dropping in. I'm sure you're dropping in for 5 seconds just to do that. How's your Saturday going, man? But yeah, filling out this shape, getting rid of that concavity. You'll really start to notice it here in your silhouette even more. So really starting to fill that in. I think your nasolabial fold form here is fine. It's definitely really strong, but I don't know. It starts to feel a little bit awkward there down in that gap. It starts to get a little bit too much. I don't think it's a bad thing, but just silhouette-wise, kind of coming back down through here, through your cheekbone, and kind of pulling up into your eye socket. All this stuff has to work together, and when you have some of this stuff off, it really starts to bleed into those other shapes. So maybe taking that back just a little bit, really helping with this silhouette through here. And I think maybe the way we can fix some of that is by pulling out some of that upper lip here a little bit. Doing a relax. Okay, Doge. Ariel told me that you can do the subscribe thing for free every month with Prime. Yes, you can. No, it's not just once. Yes, you can. You can do it every single month until you die, or get rid of your Prime or whatever. Is this model going to be used for animation and game 3D printing? Hubert, I actually have no idea. This is not my model. We're doing some critique sessions today, so we're looking at other people's work. This is by Bill, who comes and hangs out on the streams all the time. Great guy, and he sent me this for our critique session, and we're taking a look. Again, if you would like to get your stuff critiqued here on a Saturday stream, just send me an email with your Z-tool. That's follygon@gmail.com. Include your Z-tool, your Twitch username, and include some information about what you would like me to take a look at. Try to be as specific as you can. And for our nose, I think in terms of just shape here, there's definitely some awkward stuff going on if you're looking at where the nostrils are compared to the bridge of the nose. So we'll try to correct some of that just a little bit. But yeah, like I said, Bill, I think you got some really good stuff going on here in the face. I know you're not here right now, but hopefully you'll get to check this out later. Surprise, surprise. And I hope that some of this has been helpful for you. But I'll do a little bit more here, and I think in terms of just notes in general, I think that'll be a really good place for you to get started and move from there. But yeah, there's a lot that you can work on here, but like I said, you do have some good stuff. And with the right amount of time put in, I think you'll have a really cool character. Let's see. I'm kind of just pulling back on the corners of the mouth because the mouth was feeling extremely flat. So I try not to bake in smiles or expression for my character too much. That's up to you. I think there's maybe quite a lot of pinching going on through here for the corner of the mouth, so it's a little tough to work on. You might want to clean that up a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's probably some more stuff that I would do here, coming down from the lower lip and really kind of working on these planes some more from the lip to the chin. This kind of square jaw thing going on is neat. I do like that. Maybe just a little bit of some form cleanup, making sure that flows nicely from the mouth to the chin. It's a tough area. Faces are just tough in general. But that, and then let's take a look up at our eyes. Let's see. You do got some of this fat kind of coming through here. You could maybe exaggerate that a little bit more. And let's see. For your eyelids, I would just maybe work on the shape a little bit up here. We'll do that real quick. Really try to focus in here on the different shapes that we have going on. Really clean up that edge. You do have some good internal silhouette stuff starting to happen here, but like I mentioned, this form here is pretty far out on your face. I think taking that back quite a bit will help you out. But yes, that was, like I said, I think that was a lot of info, and I think that will be a lot for you to kind of work on from here, take it to the next level. But yeah, lots of little things, and maybe some big things for the clothing. Like I said, you got some good stuff going on, but a little bit extra work, and you'll be headed in a good direction. Here, let's see. Let me see where I have that. Where did I save that? I'm gonna turn off the poly paint here. So again, we'll just, I guess, look at the face, since that's really all I sculpted on too much. Let's see, I think we lost a little bit of the nose shape that you were maybe going for, so you could start to widen that back out. Again, if you guys have any references that you want me to look at while I do this to really help you see if you're getting close to what you're aiming for, that'll help as well. But yeah, lots of good stuff going on, man. And best of luck moving forward on that. Does the model have to be finished? I'm not sure what you mean by that. I'm not gonna spend the however many hours this would take to completely finish this. I could not do that here on stream. So let's see what else we got here. We've got another file. The Babu. Yes, I knew it was you. You know, you clarified. Sent me another one. Ah, I have seen this concept before, so let me download your Z tool really quick. Download. Let me import this. Writing it as you stream, I'd like some critique for my current piece. I decided to go for a stylized World of Warcraft style piece. I chose this concept art as in a studio, modeling from a concept is a major part of being an artist. I realize this piece is heavily distorted in perspective and isn't the best reference material. Let's call it a challenge. I'm focusing on the right side or left. Please let me know what you think. All right, let me download this image as well. And again, if you guys want to get your stuff critiqued in here, just shoot it over. Follygon@gmail.com, include the Z tool. Reference image would be awesome as well. And where did that go? Z tool, there we go. DS91. Is this the 91st file that you have going on here? It's a lot. All right, load that up. And our reference image as well. All right. And let's see, real quick here. Just a general critique, stylized, concept, realize, distorted perspective. Alright, cool. Not sure why there's 91 in there. No problem. Alright, let's see what you got going on. So you've merged everything together in your subtool here. I'm just gonna do a... You don't have any subdivs, so that's fine. You did have a mask there, so no problem. I'm just gonna go into split and run a group split on this. Let me do a quick save. You're at 5 million. You should be all right. So group split. Sure. Go ham. All right. So now we got everything into separate subtools here. Make it a little bit easier to work on some of this stuff and figure out what you got going on. And hopefully we had symmetry on when we did that. We did. So all these pieces should now have X symmetry turned on for where they are. All right, cool. kairuz.artstation.com. I have seen this concept before. Really cool concept. Some good stuff going on. I guess let's just go ahead, since this is my first time looking at this, let's dive in for a moment and take a look at what you got here. It looks like you've done a lot of Dynamesh here in the body, from what I can tell. And then it looks like maybe you've polymodeled these pieces out here. Not sure if you did these with ZModeler or in something else. No creases set up. It's not a big deal. Alright, cool. Well, I think you have a lot of really good stuff going on here in terms of the primary shapes. In terms of a silhouette, we are missing a tail. That's okay. That's not a big deal either. I think in terms of just primary shapes, stuff that I see going on here, I think that some things that could change would be the shape of his horns and just making sure that they're kind of going the correct direction. Right now, just looking, let's just kind of go from top to bottom and work our way down. This kind of stuff is really important, and I know this is rough, but looking here, and these are asymmetrical, but just looking at this gap here and the angle that his horns are at, trying to get those to be a lot closer to meet in that point, and it's probably some combination of rotation plus using some move and some stuff to manipulate those. If you're having trouble manipulating some of this high poly stuff in Dynamesh, what I recommend doing is just to keep some of this form, I am going to ZRemesh down to about 1K. I've duplicated your subtool, and then after doing that, we're just going to project that information back on there. And then after that, we'll try to make some quick large-scale changes. But these are the main things that you want to keep in mind. It looks like you've done a fairly good job of really focusing in on some of that stuff in the silhouette, so that's good to hear. I'm not even going to project this. I'm just going to leave it as is. I know we're going to mangle some stuff here, but that's all right. So just like really, let's see here, really kind of focusing in on moving that up. And there are, like I said, some asymmetrical shapes going on here, but we won't focus on that for the time being. We'll really focus in here. And then looking at the concept, based on the light to dark, just like the gradient in value and the angle that I can see these horns at, it's really indicating to me that and that wasn't a very good mask, but it's really indicating to me that these horns are going back in 3D space. So they're definitely some flow back there, not quite as on par with the x-axis as you had there. So really focusing on moving that back, I think, will really help you out, and then just getting those shapes a little bit closer. Get a little bit more rotation, play with that a little bit more, and just kind of draw some lines out. Drawing some lines out for me can kind of help. So that hit looks like it's hitting at about his eyeball. So kind of pulling that edge down a little bit more, play with that shape some more, and I think you'll be fine to work with that shape based on what I'm seeing in the rest of this figure. I don't think you'll have too much trouble with working with that. And then I guess as well, really focusing in on getting these secondary shapes through here. Looks a little rough from what you had initially. Let's see, take a step back. So these shapes I think are just kind of incorrect here, and what I would recommend doing is just kind of taking that back down, really focusing on getting that initial curve through there that we're seeing, some of these initial planes as well, and then after that maybe starting to, however you want to do this, and there's always a million ways to start creating those shapes and start going for more that direction. But I think that's that'll probably be my only notes up there, and then again just some other little silhouette changes will help you out. Let's see. Sent you the transpose master version. Do you mind if you send it again? Sometimes get disconnected from chat. Oh no, that's not good. Side effects. It doesn't matter. Yeah, it shouldn't matter too much here. I think you're fine. In terms of the beard and mustachio, love his mustache. Love actually a lot of what's going on here in the beard. Got some good stuff. Definitely gets very thin through there, so that's not super fun to work with. I would say in terms of the major shapes, just seeing where that is kind of hitting down there, pulling that down, whoops, making sure that that's going to be in the right area, just lining some stuff up there. And then I think you've kind of, and I see this a lot, where you kind of take a step too far away from the concept just because it's kind of what you've done in the past, and it's either from a bad habit that you've acquired, or it's something that I do all the time as well. So what I'm seeing happening here is that some of this information in the beard is not what we're seeing in this shape up here. This middle section is actually pretty simple. I would also say that you can't even see his lip there, so you'd be fine to cover that up. But coming through here and getting rid of a lot of these extra strokes that you've put through the surface, these pinches in the form, I think will help you out. And based on just the way that the light is hitting that, maybe get some of that additional dip in. It's either some kind of a negative or positive, I can't exactly tell, but maybe try out both and really figure out exactly how you want to figure out how that shape is flowing there, just to get that a little bit more accurate to the concept. And these are kind of the things that are really going to help you make that feel more like what's going on here. Get that to flow all the way through, and you can play with that curve a little bit more. So like I said, I think this is something that I do all the time. I see other people do it all the time. You just start to, you're sculpting on something, and you're used to doing a hair or whatever it is a certain way, so you start to put in some of those secondary forms, and a lot of the time, if those secondary forms aren't in the concept, you don't want to put them in. You want that to feel as close as you can get that there. And I think you could probably narrow this out some as well, and get this point down here facing the correct way. Whoops. And just do a quick rotate on that with the transpose tool. It looks like there's another secondary tiny strand of hair. Maybe a couple more. I would probably scale that up to get a better view. But yeah, maybe try to get some of that stuff in as well. In terms of the body here, looking at our silhouette, I think you got some cool stuff going on with the clavicles, but kind of a lot of that isn't really seen too much here. So what I would work on next in this area, if we look here where this edge is flowing around that kind of clavicle type shape, it's actually pulling in quite a bit further than what I'm seeing there. It's a combination of that plus that that facial hair kind of billowing out there. And there is some kind of camera trickery happening here with perspective and some other things, but I think you just have a little bit too much visible going on here. So maybe kind of playing with pulling these edges in a little bit more and getting that a little bit closer to what we're seeing there. You got some nice block out stuff going on through here, really starting to plane out your shapes. As we come down here to the deltoid, let's see, through your chest, to the deltoid, I'd say this area here, I think you got a little bit too much of a hit coming down here, and if we look at the connection point here, it really is just totally a straight line going into the pec. So really focusing in on that. Pulling that, wrong brush. Making sure that that line pulls all the way through and connects there. Probably, here, we'll just do, let's see what this Dynamesh does. This is gonna be low res, but that's all right. We'll work with it. So really pulling that edge all the way through here. And like I said, I know I'm gonna warp some of this stuff and break some stuff, but really focus in on trying to get some of these internal silhouette lines. I would say for this shape here, it might be easier for you since this shape is so much wider through the back to maybe split this off. I don't know, it's really up to you, but trying to pull that curve around a little bit faster, trying to widen out that shape. Just from what I'm seeing here, it feels like we also want to straighten this and just get that a little bit closer to that shape. A lot of secondary forms going on here. Starts to get really complicated. And looking at our bicep over on the other side, I think as you start to focus on pulling that out, you'll get a little bit more of that silhouette hit there. If you can see that sharp point, as well as that kind of internal bottom point there. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So we got out, in, and then straight. We'll just try to focus more a little bit on those silhouette pieces, and I think you'll be headed in a good direction. Let's see, what else? I think there's just some geometry missing for some parts down here, so I won't comment on any of that. And there's a lot more stuff that you probably plan on doing down here to finish some of this up, so I won't comment too much on that. I guess the only last thing I'll comment in on here is maybe the hands and face, so let's take a look here at some of this. Might be a little bit easier for you. Yeah, with this this hand gripping, it's a little tough. A little tough for how you're going to sculpt this stuff, just because the hands are going to be in such a different pose. So I honestly would recommend at this point that you should probably maybe clean up your hands a little bit more, maybe get some nice subdivs in there so it's easier to work with, and then start going into asymmetry. Man, that plane is loud. So if you just looking at the fingers here, the hand, if we take a look at the silhouette, it's really just straight down 1, 2. So we're looking at, whoops, my mask vanished. Just straight down, and then that 1, 2 for that knuckle bump. So starting to get a little bit closer to that, and then this really exaggerated knuckle bump that we have up here going into a curve, which I'm not really seeing too much in your hand, and I'm not sure if that's really going to be too present in your other hand. I mean, the 2D artist has taken some liberties, and obviously they're not going to be perfectly symmetrical. There's some exaggeration going on here. So I think maybe, like I said, start to clean up these hands, get them to that next stage, and then I think you'll want to go ahead and break symmetry on those. Hands are tough, but you've done a good job blocking out some stuff here, like I said. Do I always work with perspective turned on? No, I do not. I keep it off when doing anything that I need to do orthographically. Slicing, masking, working on something really close, I'll turn off perspective. Lots of reasons. Always switching it on and off. Very helpful, keep going. Love some feedback on the shin. Not sure what I'm seeing in the concept. Most of it goes work. Let's see. Down here in this portion. Yeah, I think you have the basic shape going on here. I assume you mean you don't know exactly what's going on here because of the super strong shadow coming down. At least that's the thing that throws me off the most there. But what I would probably do for this, I would probably slice off and do this ring piece here separately. And then get this more as a flat, going, let's see, like I said, I'm gonna butcher some of this stuff just so I can do it fast, but get this more of a flat, just flowing up into that shape, and then really start to plane this out a little bit more. And I would poly model this shape as well, like what you've done with some of the other stuff, but I'm just trying to get this out the door quick here. Yeah, that's not gonna do what I want here. I'm going to do a Z remesh with keep groups on a really low value after I put a slice through that poly loop. Some of that geometry is going to screw up on me, but that's alright. Doesn't matter too much. Delete edge loop, sure. Go through here real fast. Again, trying to work real quick here. Do a crease edge loop, crease, voila, alright. So I would try to, like I said, maybe split these out. And I know we got some rounded edges and some other stuff here, but I think you kind of get the idea. Split that out, and then that's going to really allow you to focus on how this shape is flowing up into that and get a little bit more of that curve that we see kind of wrapping around here and trying to really force some of that in. And then down here, this kind of just narrows out, obviously, quite a bit more than what we are seeing in your 3D, and really starting to get some of that asymmetry in there a little bit more. I'm obviously breaking our surface quite a bit through here, but I think you get the idea. And then kind of down towards the foot, it looks like maybe, kind of hard to interpret what's going on. I don't know if this character is from something else, so if you have another view that you can work off for the back, but it looks like to me that this center digit does not exist. It looks like it's 1, 2, and then a third one pointing out the back, kind of like what you have. So maybe a little bit more closer to that, and then just take the time to really surface these here and get some of those additional shapes going on. But yeah, let's see. Consider it's meant to be a gay mesh, should retopo, and then work on asymmetry. You know, that's up to you. I would say it depends on how different the shapes are. I would say retopo first with symmetry. But there are some very drastically different shapes going on with the knuckles. So it might be hard for you to get the form that is going to hold those sharp points for the knuckles. It might be... Really, I think it could go either way. I think it would be smarter to just retopo it symmetrically. Try to support that form as much as you can. Maybe give an extra point somewhere in there for those knuckles so you're going to be able to really get that silhouette that you want there for that pose. And I don't know if you intend on matching that pose perfectly or what. I guess up here on the face is the last thing I'll talk about. I think making sure that these surfaces are flowing properly into each other. So really making sure that this form, looking at this from every angle we can. From what I'm seeing in the concept, it's going straight from his forehead flowing into his horns there. So really making sure that that feels a lot closer. Let's see. I'll just do a rough and ready Dynamesh, like I said, so we can visualize some of this stuff a little bit more. So really just flowing that forehead slash top point of his head in through there. I think you got some good basic shapes going on through here. I think you could widen out a lot of the shapes in the brows, really get that point of the nose, and actually probably scoot that nose up quite a bit, and maybe narrow his eyes as well. And just start to get closer to some of the shapes that we're seeing in there. It looks like you could probably carry some of this form back here in the face. And yeah, really start to narrow that out. I think you've done a good job of that. But this silhouette here, I don't think that's going to be necessary for the jaw. I think a lot of that will be covered up by the hair. So just try to make that a pretty decent silhouette. I don't think there's going to be an instance of that being seen, but you know, just for your purposes of getting that nice and looking good. Same with the profile here. Very flat face right now, and also we're getting this. Whoa, come back, please. We're getting this angle here. What the? All right, ZBrush. Hold on a minute. There we go. We're getting this angle here, which is kind of like this slate face, and it really makes a character look big and lumpy and stupid. So if you're trying to make a big dumb guy, it's really good for that. I think I don't think this guy really has that look and feel to him. Also, just in general, I would say really start to get that main kind of shape language for the silhouette. And I think there's a lot of work here. I think this would take a lot more time than what I'm trying to do here quickly. But let's just kind of block out some of that stuff for what it could look like, so you can maybe get an idea for some of those larger silhouette changes. Again, even a lot of this stuff isn't super necessary here, just because it is closed up, or covered up by the beard. So if there's never a scenario where this will ever be seen in Engine, or you know, for whatever purposes you're making it for, or if you never plan on displaying this without the beard, I would say don't sculpt what you don't need, don't model what you don't need. And just maybe work on that face a little bit more and get that to a little bit of a better place. And yeah, I think like I said, I think you got some really good stuff going on. I think just paying a little bit more attention to the silhouette for a lot of these larger form changes, and then once you start getting into some of those secondary shapes, I think there's maybe some little attention you can pay for your internal silhouette lines. Really starting to maybe pull this chest shape a little bit more, you know, round it out more forward. Other than that, though, I think you'll be good moving forward. But yeah, all right. Should the horns and the head be merged eventually? The only reason I merged those horns to the head was because, based on the transition that I'm seeing there, also your ears can be a lot larger. I didn't really notice those ears till now. Those ears can be a lot larger to fit within that silhouette there. The only reason I merged these together, though, was because I'm seeing that form blend between the head and the horns. I think if you're going to be doing some game-ready retopo for this, I think it's going to make more sense for those head and horns to be connected and merged through there. And blend that shape, get that nice topology through there, and yeah. So let's see. We're just masked, that's right. So taking a step back on some of that, I think just to get a little bit closer to what we're seeing here in terms of the major silhouette forms. Again, there is some asymmetry going on. You might want to pay a little bit more attention to that. But I think, like I said, you got some good stuff going on. And keep at it, man. Keep going. All right. Only view you have. Beautiful concept. Yeah, there's a lot of situations where you're going to run into, you know, just having a single image to work from. And there are some things that you're going to have to push forward on. Some things that you will, you know, have to sacrifice. And that's just kind of part of the game. Really try to focus in on some of these silhouette hits, though. There's just some form changes here that I think you're missing. And I'm exaggerating that for you so you can see it, but just to make sure you know what's going on in some of these places. That turn there is a lot sharper than this gradual bend that you have going on. There's, I think, a lot here that you can do to tighten up some of that. Let's see. You don't think he has ears? It might be part of the horns. I was kind of thinking that, actually. After I said that. I think it might be part of the horns. Let's see. Pay attention. Yeah. Pay attention to the concept. Yeah, I know. It sounds obvious, right? But it's a tough thing to do. Feels good, man. Yeah, cool. Well, let's see. I'm guessing that I have not received any more. If you do want to get your stuff critiqued here live on the stream, again, that is follygon@gmail.com. You can send that over. Include your Twitch username and your Z-tool, obviously, so I can work on it. And then some info about what you got going on. I'm going to save out some of this. Let's see. We'll save out Bill's soldier here, just so we have it. And I'll save your dude. I know I butchered a lot of these and dynameshed them really low, but I'm trying to make a point quick. It's not always easy to do stuff quick in 3D. Should you post your first ever sculpt? It might not be helpful for anyone. If you want to send me your first sculpt, I would be happy to critique it. It's up to you. Does not matter to me, though. I think you said you don't think it would be helpful for anybody. I think it would, actually. I think there's a lot of people that are brand new that are just in those early stages, and there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of good things that I could talk about. Definitely don't feel like you're not good enough to get your stuff critiqued or anything. But if nobody else is going to send me anything, I'm going to work back on our great Bambino. But if, again, anybody wants to send me something to critique here, follygon@gmail.com. And I know this is kind of last minute here. Oh god, I forgot about our creepy face and our deer. But next Saturday, by then, hopefully we'll have some more. And we'll try to make this more of a thing in the future where we can come through and start to do some more critiques of some other people's work here live on stream. Talk about some things that you can work on. Alright. So there's a lot of stuff that I want to correct in our leggers. Where's my reference? One of these guys. This one. Give me that. Give me you. Tile selected. That's not what I wanted. Oh, maybe it is. Alright. So here's the basic pose that I'm going off of from Bambi, the Great Prince of the Forest here. And yeah, I'll keep, 1 second. There we go, cool. So again, follygon@gmail.com, send me your stuff you want critiqued, include your Twitch username and a Z-tool of your file and what you want critiqued. Try to be as specific as you can with what you're asking for. Sometimes people just want a really generic, what do I need to fix? And typically the answer to that question is a lot. You need to fix a lot. But yeah, try to be specific. Definitely, you're definitely going to get a lot better critique, a lot better information to help you out if you be specific. Alright, we're going to really focus in here on the silhouette of our pose. Make sure that a lot of these edges are turning the way that we want. Right now they are not, which is fine. Just needs a little TLC. And mainly what I'm doing here is just using some move brush, some masking, and maybe some like pinch around some of these areas to really start to get that hit there that I'm looking for, as well as in the back of that little legger. A lot of this stuff feels kind of awkward to me here, some of these legs. So we'll try to work on some of this area as well. Let's see. That point is down so low over there. I feel like it feels a lot lower than what I would even try to make this. I'm not working with perspective right now because I want to look at these from the orthographic. Maybe starting to push that direction a little bit too much. Let's actually, let's try moving that point around here for this joint and seeing what we can do here. I'll just do a quick mask. And slide it with our transpose tool. I think if I'm gonna do that, I think we've maybe exaggerated that point a little bit more than we need to. And with that, we could probably adjust that other joint back there as well. This is when stuff really starts to come alive though. Poly paint is one of those stages, but when you start to get into posing, that's where things start to feel really good. Alright. I'm going to change the angle of this leg as it feels a little narrow. I've done some stuff to adjust weight here, but I feel like that's just a little bit too in line. So let's try that next. Got to critique my own stuff now, which is always fun. Self-critiquing is really hard. If you're having trouble or you're stuck at some point, what I recommend doing is take a break from what you're looking at and then take whatever you're working on and drop it into Photoshop. Flip your canvas, kind of like what digital painters and sketch artists do, and get a look at it from there, from a different point of view. It's often very helpful. I don't want to change my camera view. I'm gonna try to be careful with my mask here. Actually, there we go. Could do this in Transpose Master, but I don't really care enough to swap on over. Fix the angle of rotation. I'm not sure We got one of these hooves up. I was planning on making it look like he was maybe walking or standing, I'm not sure. Corvus, thank you for the follow. How are you doing? I'm not really positive exactly what I want to do with the stance here. I was thinking about maybe bending this leg a little bit more so he's got kind of the kind of pointing. Let's see, what would you call it? Kind of like a dog doing a pointing pose with one leg. Maybe something a little bit like that. I don't know. We'll play around with it. Try to find something we like a little bit more. But yes, I think getting that leg out is going to help once we start to get that to feel a little bit better with all the other legs. So let's go into T-pose mesh. And start to get a little bit more bend happening for this back front leg. Left front leg. Back front doesn't make any sense. Let's see. Those legs are definitely a lot closer. So let's do some playing around here in the mud. Quick mask and rotate. And let's do that back here as well. I honestly feel like these front legs should be swapped. That or these legs need to be more firmly planted. Silhouette-wise, those front legs are a lot stronger than the back legs, so maybe we just kind of take some liberties here with our pose. Turn on double so we can see backside faced polygons. It's always nice. Yeah, let's get in here. See that there are some new people joining us, so welcome to the stream, guys. Hope you're having a good Saturday. If you're just joining us, we are doing some critique streams today. Kind of a last minute thing that we did, so if you do want to get in on the fun, you can send your files or your Z-tools over to follygon@gmail.com. We've already done 2 thus far, and I was expecting to only have 1 at the beginning. But if you have something, go ahead and send it over, and we'll take a look here on stream. By next Saturday, we'll have some more, since we just kind of announced this yesterday. I just kind of came up with the idea actually mid-stream. It's like, that'd be fun to do. Let's try it out. But yeah, send your Z-tools over, include your Twitch username so I know who you are, and a little bit of info about your file, what you're working on, maybe what you would specifically like to achieve or get out of the critique, and go from there. And don't be nervous. Don't be nervous about having your stuff on stream. It doesn't matter. Everything looks bad until it doesn't. Everything starts from a big old blobby mess. We've all been there. Sculpting is hard. It takes a long time. How the heck are ya? I'm doing good, Hannibal. How you doing? How the heckin'? Heck is the worst word of bad words, right? Something like that. We're going to bring this leg down quite a bit more. Exaggerate that a bit less, get that more planted. And I think maybe there's just some perspective stuff that maybe making us push that a little bit further than we want, which is fine. With our front left leg. Let's try taking that back a step too. I don't mind the bend per se, but we might want some more straights through some of this, just to make it feel a little bit more strongly planted. Get some rotation here. Get some cheating. I think we've got some twist in our body a little bit, which is making that feel a little bit too high. Not a problem. We won't fry you. PT said, I sent my first ever sculpt to Folly. Fry me with your critique. We'll take a look here in just a moment. I'm going to transpose this back, and then we'll load that up. I'm asking you to be Mike Pavlovich. I'm not entirely sure what that means. I'd go for critique, but I think I'm realizing my ZBrush or Wacom isn't working. If I describe my trouble, do you think it's possible you may know the cure? I don't know. Explain your trouble, and I'll see if I know the cure. I recently had a problem with my pen, actually. Is Mike a Wacom diagnostic champion, master? I don't know, whatever you want to say. I know Mike, he streams on the Pixelogic ZBrush channel as well. He's been doing it for quite a while. And I will take a look. Let's just do a quick once over here, and we'll get back to Alright. Let's adjust this leg just a little bit more. We'll figure that out later. But at least get some decent changes in there. We'll T-pose back. Alright, cool. And then let me save this as well. The Great Prince. The plane. Alright, let me check my email real quick. And here we go. My first ever sculpt, sculpted without any reference. I would like to receive critique about proportions and shape language. Well, thank you, PT. Let's take a look. Alright. Here we go. Let's dive in. So I see that you have Shane's ruler here, so I'm not sure if you're taking his course. I'm not sure if you have to take his course to get that. You might get it for free from his free brushes or whatever. But yeah, let's dig in here. So you said, what was it? Critique about proportions and shape language. Well, unfortunately, I can't give you too much of a critique on proportions because we're not really referencing anything. I will give you some critique on shape language and just some sculpting tips and tricks here in general. Tips and tricks. I sound like a bait click YouTuber. Or bait clickbait. God. Yeah, so let's see. first sculpt ever for PT. I think you've done some good stuff here since it's your first sculpt ever. You've actually created something with some limbs. I think there's a lot of stuff that I would probably do here to just start taking this to the next stage. I think in terms of shape language, this character that you've created, we'll just talk really basic, like silhouette. It feels very hunched. It feels like the head is really big, which, you know, is fine if you want to go for that chibi style. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but I think the shoulders are feeling a little awkward, really up, really high. I think the big head is lending a little bit too much to that forward-leaning, top-heavy look, so we might want to bring that back a bit more, get it a little bit more on balance, and yeah, in terms of like surfacing and stuff like that, I don't think there's too much that you've done here, but in just terms of like little things here in the silhouette, you know, cleaning up some of this awkwardness kind of running through here, you know, you start to get some concavities, and these are going to be, you know, things that you focus on later. But I think the thing that I want you to think about most of all right now, and I'll duplicate this here. I'll duplicate it so we can come back and take a look after we're done playing around with your file. But I think the thing that I want you to focus on is a fundamental called large, medium, and small. And that just means thinking about primary forms, then secondary forms, and then tertiary forms. There's a little bit more that I'll talk about with that as we go through. But let's, looks like you've turned on some things here. Let me just fix some of the settings that you've done. For ZRemesh, I would say never click this half button. I mean, I don't know what your workflow is. You did say this is your first sculpt. Just make sure that you have this set on the default so that you can actually control the poly count if you want to use ZRemesh. I'm just going to Dynamesh your face here. I know we've kind of... Here, I'll Dynamesh it a little higher so we don't lose quite as much of your stuff that you got going on here. Alright, let's just start working our form here. So, the first thing we want to focus on is large shapes. And to focus on large shapes, we want to have geometry that is a little bit lower res than what you have here. If I want to make a big form change to this here at the topology that you have it at, it's really hard for me to manipulate. Just because if we start to look here, let's say I want to move out some surface here, you just got so many polygons in here, it's going to be tough to play with. So what I'm going to do is duplicate this and do a ZRemesh on your shape at 1000 polygons, and I'm not even going to project that because we didn't really lose too much useful info there. Let's just start by sliding this head back a little bit, get him a little bit more on our off kilter, I guess, on kilter. Like I said, he was feeling very top heavy, very front heavy there. I'll add in some subdivs and just start playing around here. I think in terms of your major shapes, let's just start getting some nice clean stuff going on through here. I would say for your next project, try to grab a reference. I think for your first project ever, trying to do an entire character is biting off a little bit more than you can chew at this point. And I think that's your decision. It's your prerogative. You can, do whatever you want. But I always recommend try to start with something a little bit more simple that gives you the opportunity to learn the tools in ZBrush, since there's, quite a lot, and I know people struggle with the UI in the beginning a lot. It's not that hard though once you just put in the time and get used to it. But really just do something simple. I always recommend Sculpt something that will give you the opportunity to have a good reference, and then at the end of you sculpting that thing, you can look at your reference and objectively say, does this look like this thing? Have I achieved that result? So typically what I recommend is something like a nose or an ear or a finger, something small, something simple that you can kind of build up on after you're done. So definitely try that out. I can talk a little bit more about some of the tools that I'm using, but I don't want to overload you too much with some of this information. I'm mainly just using the first 3 or 4 brushes down here for a lot of this. I'm playing with some of these shapes, seeing what we can do to clean up a lot of these forms that you've started to get in here. So the first thing I did was started for this curve to think about large shapes. And by large shapes, I mean just the overall primary form of what's happening here on your little gecko guy, or chameleon maybe, I'm not sure. Lizard boy, we'll say. So the first thing I did, focusing on that large silhouette, I'm trying to get a little bit more of some nice curve through there instead of what we had before, just this very flat, boring curve straight down. I'll try to make that a little bit more visually interesting. From the front, I just want to round out some of the face maybe, play with some of this. I don't really think these eyes make too much sense here, so what I'll probably do is just erase those, smooth them out, and play with that shape a little bit more. And let's see, Hannibal said, the trouble that you're having when you use the standard brush or damn standard, I get spotted lines, especially when I poly paint with standard. Now I'm noticing I have to crank up H polish to 85 or better to do what other people seem to do at 37%. Yeah, I actually know exactly what the problem is, most likely. Let's see, you said that or the damn standard brush. So, if we look at the damn standard brush here, if we look at our stroke is set to dots by default, which isn't that bad, right? But if I start to come in here, you might, at the settings I have right now, it's not quite as noticeable. So if you're using lazy mouse with your damn standard brush, or your whatever brush you're using, you want to, let's see here. You want to make sure that your lazy step is set to an appropriate level. So let me go into lazy mouse over in our stroke palette. If I set that lazy step to 1, you're going to see these dots a lot more often. And that's mainly because of the stroke you're using, but also it could be because of your lazy step settings. So just lower your lazy step settings. We're still getting that a little bit there, so we'll lower our lazy step settings to even lower. And voila, I've gotten rid of the dots that are happening there. Now I don't know if that's your problem, but if it's definitely not a tablet issue based on what you described. So I'd maybe try playing around with that with your lazy mouse, and also set your dot stroke to freehand. I did not mean to do that on my move brush. I meant to do it on my damn standard brush. Set that to freehand, and it will help you out with getting rid of those dots as well. Alright, PT, next up. Let's continue to look at some of these major forms here. So I'm going to Z-remesh your body down to about 0.1 or so. Try messing with your freehand. You have to save the brush if you would like to save that setting. If you'd like to get that. So PT, it sounds like you missed some of the stuff there in the beginning. Not a problem. I'll just reiterate that what we're focusing on is the larger shapes. We're going to start with large, then go medium to small. If we look at your sculpt, I think there are some issues with this feeling very top-heavy. I think there are some issues with just your larger shapes in general. So we're starting off there. Large shapes, primary forms, the most basic we can. Starting to make this feel a little bit less top-heavy and a little bit more, like I said, you don't have a reference here, so what I recommend doing is grabbing a reference image and working on something that is going to give you an objective look at how close you can get to creating that final thing. Something like a nose, an ear, or a finger will, I think, at the end of that process give you the ability to objectively go back and look at what you've done. You'll have some good references if you want to look in the mirror, or if you do a finger, you can just look at it on your hand. And then at the end of that process, you'll be able to take a step back and say, did I sculpt this finger properly? Or did I sculpt this nose properly? Take some pictures of your nose, find some images online, whatever you want to do. Looks like maybe we're probably going to want to clean up some of the surfacing through here, so we'll probably just destroy a lot of this to make sure that we're getting a nice clean shape through there. So let's take this back down a step. That'll help to close off holes with Dynamesh. And a lot of these here are also not doing us any favors, so I'm going to destroy a lot of that. And we're going to really take a step back here. I really want you to focus here on primary shapes. I think at this stage, focusing on an entire character for you is maybe a little bit more than, biting off a little bit more than you can chew. And what I would recommend again is trying to start with something a little bit more simple, like a nose or an ear or a finger, just so you can learn the tools in ZBrush and really take your work to a level where you can look at something and say, hey, that's pretty good. Alright, so we'll just Z-remesh this out and continue to focus in here on our primary shapes. Really starting to take this back a step because I really want to show you how important this stuff is. I'll start to, I'm going to try to keep a lot of what you have already kind of put in here. I'm trying not to take it too far away from what you've done. We'll try to stay within the same realm. Try to clean that up some more. Trying to get a really nice, clean profile through there. And let's see. Again, this is your first sculpt, so you're probably not incredibly familiar with a lot of the tools in ZBrush, so I'm trying to be a little bit more generic with some of the stuff that I'm doing. It would obviously take us probably like 10 times as long if we explain every single step in brush stroke. So again, that thing that I want you to focus on, primary forms, large shapes. Make sure your large shapes are looking good. Try to think about some fundamentals in terms of just, you mentioned that you wanted some help with just shape language in general. I think in something like this, these points here, you really want to, I can tell that you've either used a move brush or a snake hook brush to just kind of pull these out really quick. And you know, I've been there too. I remember these stages where I started doing stuff like this. That's not something we want to do here. So we want to just really start to plane out some of these changes in our form. So we're going from the front of our face here with our little ridge that you've made around there. So I'm trying to kind of block that out a little bit more. And we'll just try to create something a little visually interesting. Try to stick close to what you had, like I said. And we'll just kind of block that out there. Start to get a little bit of a harder edge up through the nose that wraps up around the eyes for your little chameleon boy. Alright, and then through the mouth, we're definitely going to want to tighten up some of this area and really work in on these corners. They're wide open right now. So some move brush with some back face masking can be helpful here. And we'll just start to close up this mouth a little bit. And what I'm talking about when I'm saying, you know, primary forms and making sure those shapes are really good, if I look at this upper lip and we're seeing this line, that silhouette line there, that's not good. This little curve that we have going on here, that's just extra information that is not necessary at this stage. So let's really get just a nice clean edge through there, something nice and simple. And if we want to start adding some secondary forms later, we absolutely can, but focusing on those primary forms is our most important part of this. So if you're just joining in, guys, we're doing some live critiques today. Right now we're taking a look at PTRNG's little chameleon boy here that he sent us. This is his first sculpt ever, so I think you've done a lot of good stuff here. If this is your first sculpt ever, you've definitely used a lot of tools, played around with those, which is I think what everybody tries to do on their first sculpt. Try to get as much in as you can, and you're just experimenting. And we're probably going in a little bit too much for kind of where you are right now, maybe. But I think that's fine. I don't think we can kind of over-cover stuff. And you're probably at a stage where you're still learning the software, and you will be for a while. But again, just really focus in on those primary shapes here. It's going to be the most important thing. No amount of pulling out and doing these kind of brush strokes is really going to help these underlying shapes here. What I'm seeing, like in here, this form here that you have sculpted up and you got some extra bulges going on, you probably want to take those back. And that's kind of what I've done here. I've simplified this shape as far back as I could and really started working on it a lot more. And maybe we could insert an eyeball through here. Start getting that in there. This is something that is not apparent in your work, and it's using multiple subtools. And like I said, I know you're new, but that's probably going to be the next stage for you, is starting to work with multiple objects. Like I've done here, I've split your body from your head, just to make it a little bit easier to work on your head. So I would look up some tutorials for working with multiple subtools, kind of like what I've done here. And let's scale that eye up some more. Let's see. Let's get that in there. Big old chameleon boy. And then for this plane, I really want to define this, start cleaning this up. Start to get this a little bit more flat, have a place that we can insert that eye on. And then start working a little bit more on maybe some eyelids or some additional secondary form through there. Kuro Yagi, welcome to the stream. Yagi, I do not know what Yagi is. Kuro, Black Yagi, something Yagi. Yagi wa nan desu ka? Alright, so let's continue to plane this out through the back here. As I start to turn here in 3D space, I'm noticing that this curve here is pretty dirty. So if we want to get some more of this kind of S-curve through here, I think that's fine, but let's just re-pinch over that. Start to clean up that shape some more. Maybe we really want to pull that out some more so we can play with that. Using some masking. Trying to get away from chameleon, but, you know, you've just kind of, like you said, you don't have any reference, you're just kind of playing around. Yeah, take a step back, focus in on those primary forms, and I think that'll help you out a lot. Just kind of looking at our major shapes here in the silhouette. I would maybe simplify that. Start to get a nice curve through there. Let's do this. Whoops. Here. Merge that back into your body. And these are the type of areas where you're going to want to probably split off your arms. Split off your legs. We'll leave the legs on for now though. I'll just work on some stuff here in the body and the arms real quick so you can get an idea of what we want to do moving forward. So I've done a quick Dynamesh between the head and the body just so I can start blending some of these forms to get a nice curve through there. And then at this stage, if you want to start doing some of those spikes that you had along the ridge, I would say now would be the time to do that. Now that you've gotten past your little primary curve there, and now you can start breaking up that surface some more. I won't do too much there, just to give you some perspective on that though. And I'm seeing some issues as we kind of get up to the armpit here. We're getting some awkward, like, little extra curve and pinch in there, so we definitely want to fill in a lot of this form. If you look at my deer here that we've been working on, around these edges, if we look at that little point right through here, the surface comes in and then it takes a sharp turn back up. And then as that edge wraps around, it starts to fade out into more of a curve and a flat over here. So that's what we're looking for around that area. So filling some of that in, making sure that we're not getting a lot of these awkward, I would say mostly at this stage for you, a lot of what you're going to end up having on your surface is going to be little pock marks like this, and you won't have a very clean surface. I've exaggerated this, but let me smooth this out for you. You'll probably have something a little bit closer to this, and this is what you are probably going to want to take a step back on and really try to use some trim brushes or ZBrush, a few other options. I would say if you're having trouble controlling your surface, try to bring that poly count a little bit lower. And what bringing that poly count lower does is it gives you less points to manipulate. So it's a little bit easier to work with. And now that that's a lower poly count, it's a lot easier for me to very gently smooth out, and now we have a nice clean round surface. Now I've lost some form up through there, so another thing that you can do is take your geometry, duplicate it, then Z-remesh it, and after that Z-remeshes, you can project that information back. And the way you do that, make sure that both of these subtools are visible. Your newly Z-remeshed piece and your high-res piece. You can turn on solo mode so you only see one of those. Click on subdivide, or just Control-D to subdivide. Project. That'll run a quick projection. Subdivide again, project again, subdivide again, project again, and you can start cleaning this up. And now we have some subdivs that make this a lot easier to work with rather than Dynamesh geometry. And now, I'll just delete that old one because we don't need it anymore. But now we can work on making these arms feel like they're going to connect up here a little bit better. I'll Dynamesh to close holes and everything else. Lemon Tios, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the stream. I know we've Dynameshed the fingers together, but that's okay. I just wanted to line that up a little bit more. Show you how we can clean up that silhouette. Here, actually, we'll do this. I'll run a close holes and zero mesh that, just so I don't merge those fingers together. Alright, just making sure that the internal silhouette line here is looking good. It's going to be a lot of what you're going to be focusing on. Now we're making that a little bit better. A little bit more clean. But yeah, let's see. Thanks for bringing this in, PT. Yes, absolutely. I mean, like I said, I think there are a lot of people that are really new, and just seeing a lot of that like really early stuff can be extremely helpful. I know. I mean, I've been at this point before. Like everybody started from this. I have stuff that looks just like this. But yeah, just like taking that step back. You will get better with time. I don't think you're going to be able to get hyper clean shapes right away. It does take time. It takes patience and time to recognize a lot of little things and level up in a lot of different areas. But the primary thing that I want you to focus on is large shapes, primary forms. Never go into these secondary shapes here until you are really happy with what you got going on in your primary forms. So really take the time to, well, like what I've done here, which is just, let me get rid of that. Really just kind of take a step back on some of the forms in the head that you've built and really clean that up to get that to a nicer area. And then I've added in some quick little spheres that you can play around with and figure out, you know, what you want to do. What I'll do is I'll duplicate them and run a, let's see, I'm just going to slice it in half, and then use a deformation inflate and start creating some kind of lid here. And play with that. So I've tried to keep a lot of your like basic shapes and proportions here. I think maybe maybe some of the different stuff that you have going on that you've started to do have a little bit more of a wider mouth down here at the bottom. I mean, we can play with this forever, but like I said, definitely pick something next time with a reference. I think it'll help you out quite a bit more. Let's see. Give him some Sonic hair. Yeah. So I would maybe spend, you know, like I said, if you want to start getting into those point pullouts, after you get those primary shapes down a little bit more, maybe then you can start, you know, focusing on these and the shapes that you want to make here a little bit more. Spend some more time on those. Speaking of Sonic, this music kind of sounds like Sonic. Doing some pinching, some alt pinching. Whoops. Really start shaping that stuff up. Cool? Cool. Love your workflow, thank you, appreciate it. Is this how they create shapes for blink eyes? There are lots of ways to create eyelids. That was just a quick way that I did it there. But I think that'll be enough for you to kind of get started from there, and we're probably going to jump back on my deer, but I am happy to take a look at someone else's work if you guys want. We're doing some critiques today. So I'm going to get back on my deer, but PT, thanks for sending in your stuff. I hope that some of that has been helpful for you. I'll save this out real quick so I don't lose it. Let's see, where did I put that? Where did I put that boy? So main things for you to keep in mind: big old shapes, large shapes, focus on those primary forms, and start trying to work with multiple subtools. Start trying to work with multiple objects. So I've like split your arms off and dynameshed them, or actually I just closed holes and remeshed it real quick. So start looking up some of those tools: Dynamesh, Z-Remesher, and working with additional subtools. And I think you'll start to get to a better place. So cool. I saved that out. I think we're good. Will Saturday be the usual day for critiques? Yes, I think so. I think next Saturday we're going to try to do this as well. So if you guys want me to take a look at anything, what I want you to do is just shoot me an email, follygon@gmail.com, include your Twitch username so I know who you are, include the ZTool file, make sure it's a ZTL, that's tool save as up here, and then also include some information about your file. Include like what you want to be critiqued. Try to be as specific as you can. Don't just say how to make better. That's asking for bad critique. And I can't give the more specific you are, the better information and critique I'll be able to give you. Let's take a look back at our legs, see what we can do here. Absolutely, PT. I think like I said, I think those few things that you focus on next, I think that'll help you level up to the next stage. The make good art button, well, it's actually a secret, so I won't show it here on stream. But there is an easy button in ZBrush. It's actually my favorite tool. I never tell anybody about it though. Top secret, hush hush. Only all the pros know about it. So, sorry. I will try to make something for next week. Yeah, absolutely. Sounds like a good time. Or even if you have an old piece that's finished and you want me to take a look at that, that is cool as well. Alright, so I still want to change some things in the legs in terms of just the general pose. I do kind of like that leg not being down all the way, like it's kind of up a little bit more on its tip there, or even off the ground. Let's see. Just turning off perspective, I'm noticing that there are some differences in thickness between a lot of these. Try to get those a little bit closer to one another. And up here in the front, whoop, come on back. I'm thinking just a little bit of more thickness over there. Let's really define this joint more like we did on the other side. Use some pinch brush to get that in there. Here, actually. No slice, please. Select. Selection only. It's so bright in my room right now, it's hard to see with all this glare on my screen. Luckily that doesn't affect you guys. Every time I stream, I sit with like these three, it's like this little nook area. What do you call them? Bay windows, I think? They're not quite bay windows because I think bay windows typically have like a seat. But it's like these three windows, and no matter what time I seem to stream at, There's always a beam of light. I can see it in my reflection hitting me in the face. So that's always fun. But yeah, I hope the critiques have been helpful today. We will hold off on doing any more because I just want to work on this deer for a little bit. I think we've looked at 3 characters thus far. So again, hopefully that's been helpful for you guys that did send in your stuff, and then also for people just tuning in. I think seeing other people's work get critiqued can be just helpful in general. Depending on kind of what level you're at as well. But I enjoy doing critiques, which is why I'd like to do some more of these on Saturdays. I'll also mention, hey, if you're interested in getting up to that next level even more, I have my Gumroad, since I haven't shouted this out yet on stream. Gumroad.com/Follygon, there's a link down below. I also offer one-on-one mentorship, so if that's something that you are interested in to really get to that next level, I would appreciate it if you guys checked out my Gumroad. I also have stuff on there for quick start courses for absolute beginners, some more stuff for some more intermediate level users, and then some more advanced courses on there as well as some base meshes, mannequins. If you guys are interested, you can get all 5 of these mannequins for only $1, or as the pun masters have stated many times on my Twitch channel, for only $1, because we're sculpting a buck, I guess. You're very clever, I know. Or some curve brushes, excuse me, some curve brushes, my materials that I use for sculpting, and just a bunch of other stuff. So I'd appreciate, again, if you check that out, gumroad.com/Follygon. I don't pay anything to advertise my stuff, so it's all just word of mouth and all you great people coming and hanging out here on the stream. And I think with those few pinches, our leg is starting to turn a lot better. If we take a look at that silhouette, that 1-2 is feeling a lot nicer to me, feeling a lot closer to our front right leg. Thought we almost crashed there. That would have sucked. Get that quick save off. Sub D while on dynamic subdiv is where the button is at for sure. Let's see. Sub D while on dynamic subdiv. Oh, the easy button. Oh no. No, that's not where it is. No, I can't tell you guys. It wouldn't be a secret. You know, when people are like, I have to share a secret with you, it's like, well then it's not a secret anymore, is it? Alright, I'm gonna bend that front left a little bit more. I also feel like we've lost quite a bit of our form through here. This starts to get really blocky. I'll try to do this before we go into ZBrush. Look, I can't just tell you guys where the secret easy button is in ZBrush. That would ruin it. You gotta discover it on your own. If everybody knew where the easy button is, I'd be out of a job. I can't really scale this in with that mask, can I? Let's just spend some time to shape that back up. That Super Meat Boy emoji, or emoticon, whatever you want to call it, emote. Is he default? Do I have him? I want Meat Boy. I love the Meat Boy games. Beat the original Meat Boy. I think I played it on Congregate at first. Anonymous, thank you for the follow. What's going on? Welcome to the stream. I think I beat the first Meat Boy. I believe it was on Congregate, if you guys remember that gaming website. I think Congregate's still around. We used to do that in high school though. I beat that in like a day. I was just obsessed with it. Super Meat Boy. A little bit harder. but also pretty fun. I love platformers. It's one of my favorite genres, especially difficult platformers. So if anybody has some good recommendations for some cool, fun, and difficult platformers, I'm all ears. I'm all deers. That's right, guys. I can make puns too. It's not just you. Alright, we'll work on how that transitions a little bit more, but I want to bend this leg. So let's go T-posy. Take a look. Meat Boy's teeth always get you. Maybe we'll try to sculpt them for the next critique. Hey, yeah, there you go. Pretty simple character. I think that would be good. And he's pretty iconic, so I think that'll be fun. I think I've seen maybe like 1 or 2 Meat Boy 3D figures, not too many. Bill, thank you for the critique. I was late to the stream today. No problem, man. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Bill, for the Twitch sub. I appreciate that a lot, dude. It's very nice of you. Yes, I will post this up on my YouTube channel after we're done streaming here. I don't think it'll be up. It'll be up within like a day or 2, I think. I can't remember my schedule or what I have left in the backlog. I think I have 1 more going up before this one. But yes, no worries. If you guys are coming in here late, or if you want to go back through and watch a bunch of old stuff that we've worked on in the past, all of that is up on my YouTube channel. It's just YouTube/Follygon. And Quick Draw, hello, how are you doing? Love ZBrush, hate modeling. Most of the jobs are in modeling. I mean, ZBrush is 3D modeling, so. This is polygon modeling. It's just not poly modeling. It's not hard surface modeling. Box modeling, as it is called by some. But yeah, thank you again, Bill, for the Twitch Prime sub, and that critique will be up for you to check out later. So no worries that you missed anything. All right, so I wanted to bend that joint there. I was gonna say knee, not really a knee. I don't know what joint that would be. Maybe more elbow. So just a quick bend and then back to T-pose. And there are just some things in the ankles now that are really starting to bother me. Down through here, some additional volumes that I think could really be tweaked. But I think I want to keep this stream a little bit short today, since we did a lot of critiques there. So I probably won't do too much with our dear boy here today. But we'll be back on Monday to be working on this guy. And then, so I stream every day except for Sunday at noon EST, Eastern US time. And then I stream on Tuesdays on the YouTube, or I'm sorry, on the YouTube. On the ZBrush, Pixelogic ZBrush channel. And I do that at 6 p.m. Eastern US time as well. So 2 stream Tuesday is what we normally do. But yeah, we've done a lot of critiques today. I would like to do some more on next Saturday, so if you guys are around, send me some files to follygon@gmail.com. Include with that 3 things. I want your Twitch username, so I know who you are. I want your ZTool file. Do not send me a ZBrush project. Go to Tool, Save As. Send me your ZTools. ZTools only. And then also just include some information about your file, what you're trying to accomplish, what you want me to look at specifically. Just try to give me as much specific information of what you want critiqued as possible. That'll help out a lot and allow me to give you a lot better critique. But like I said, I'm getting blinded right now. Holy crap. wherever that is. All right. Ah, Bill, you did get to see. Awesome, fantastic. Let's see here. Let's find somebody to give a quick raid. Find out what cool artists are on. But again, thank you guys for coming and hanging out. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Get out and see the sun. I'm not gonna do that. I don't know why. I don't even know why I said that. I'm not going outside. Let's see. Let's see if we can find some sculptors real quick. Alright, I'll find somebody to raid, but I'm gonna cut the stream there. So thank you guys for coming to hang out, and hopefully see you on Monday. Again, that's noon Eastern. So, oh my god, blinded. Alright, toodles guys. Peace.